under recording here. Call to order or resume the meeting of regular meeting of council Monday, August 26th. Just marginally past 7 o'clock. Looking for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. To note, Councillor Lukens is not with us this evening. She is away for the next few meetings for personal reasons. Looking for public participation. This is a chance for any of you in the audience that may want to step forward and make a comment. Robin, you know the routine?
So before buying my house, I read Colwood's official community plan as it pertained to my home and neighborhood. I was impressed with Colwood's plan, which has passed into law as Bylaw 999. Is this hello? Okay, should I start again? Very well. So again, before buying my house, I read Colwood's official community plan as it pertained to my home and my neighborhood. I was impressed with Colwood's plan, which has passed into law in 2008 as Bylaw 999. When council last met, it chose to defer its decision on whether I can encourage biodiversity and compelled me to consult my neighbors, whom were not happy with council doing so. And as such, some did not even answer their door. Instead, these angry people came to demand that you uphold the law. I'm accused of having an unkept lawn under Bylaw 715. We don't have a lawn, and so it is impossible for us to have an unkept lawn. We do not have weeds, as listed under the Noxious Weed Act. Rather, in keeping with Bylaw 999, Section 2416(6), and I quote, employ restoration practices specifically tailored to address the type and degree of disturbance and specific conditions of the site. These are your laws, and I'll quote another. 2416(9), plant shrubs and trees in masses and patterns characteristic of a natural setting with the intent of encouraging biodiversity. When the PRCC committee met to receive public input, they were told repeatedly to uphold the law. Is Bylaw 999 a law? I'm following it to the letter, and I've invested $500,000 into designing my home, thinking it was. If those persons who wish for me to be forced to retain a lawn didn't want biodiversity in their neighborhood, they should have opposed Bylaw 999 before it passed into law. If you have passed conflicting bylaws, I fail to see why I should suffer this cruel and unusual punishment as a result. It is a matter of fact that I'm being scrutinized more so than the owners of any of the innumerable lots of not dissimilar appearance in my vicinity. The law is a shield to victims, not a sword for bullies. This is my land on which I am following the spirit of your official community development plan. Please stop this unconscionable scrutiny at once and explain your bylaws to our fellow residents, as they most certainly should know their laws. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak?
I'm not familiar with the procedures, so what do I need to do?
Name and address, and if you prefer not to have your address recorded audio, you can provide that to our recording clerk at a separate time.
No, I'm Margaret Ann Nelson, homeowner of 237 Portsmouth Drive. So our property is adjacent to the property that's being discussed. And we just really wanted to say that we have no objection to how he's dealing with his property. In fact, I thought it was rather pleasant, the sort of meadow-looking scene that he's done, and he had the logs, and we really have no issue with it. And that's what we wanted to let council know. I have spoken to other neighbors. The problem with people that don't care one way or another is they tend to not speak up and not be quite as vocal as people that have really strong opinions. So I know for a fact of several other neighbors I've spoken to within the last 2 days that they have no issue with this as well.
My name is Bob Nelson. I'm the spouse of Margaret Nelson. I also live at 237 Portsmouth Drive. And having witnessed some of the, it's venomous, some of the objection. It's being he's had neighborhood meetings and had people there, and it's irrational what's been going on. And just because his idea of landscaping does not fit with somebody's green lawn and manicured edges, that they have one vision of what landscaping should look like, and Robbins isn't that vision. And frankly, I like it. And and most of our neighbors, they don't mind. And the ones who do seem to mind are the ones that, in my opinion, are ecologically or environmentally irresponsible by wasting precious water during the driest time of the year to water their lawns. I just think that's craziness. But I've never complained about them watering their lawns. Virtually every one of the neighbors that complains all have green lawns. So they have a different level of thinking about the environment than Robin does. I really appreciate what he's trying to do, and so I'll leave that comment with you.
Any other members of the public? Seeing none, we shall move forward. Mayor's message. So you might be wondering why we're dressed like this. We had a great pleasure of attending and participating in the 100th anniversary of St. John the Baptist Church, which is in around the corner back of the Church of the Advent and adjacent to the Hatley Memorial Gardens. So members of council and staff and many members of the community were out in dress regalia for the day's celebration. An enormous amount of work went into the preparations and the activities that were held, and I've heard nothing but the greatest compliments to all that were a part of what went on. The Lieutenant Governor herself came and spent almost 4 hours with us on site, which is almost unheard of. She usually comes in and does the formalities and moves on to another engagement. So we felt very honored to have her presence for a great portion of the day there. I'm sure every one of the council members has their own special highlight, but it really truly was quite a spectacular event put on, and many members of the public who have said, like, wow, like Colwood really did it up. So I think we did it well, folks. So thank you all to council, staff, our community committee members. We had a real wedding go on there. So, how many can say that their impromptu guest list included mayor and council and the lieutenant governor? So it was wonderful. There are pictures posted to the website, do check them out. And hopefully we'll be able to come up with more of these kinds of events to engage and bring to the community. So we shall move on to looking for adoption of minutes of the regular meeting of council July 8th.
Move adoption.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Looking to receive minutes for finance and admin May 22nd, St. John the Baptist Church Centennial June 17th, St. John the Baptist Church Centennial June 25th, Parks and Rec Culture meeting minutes June 17th, Finance and Admin Committee June 17th.
So moved.
One more, sorry, Councillor Day. The report of the public hearing dated July the 8th.
So moved then.
Second. Seconder?
I seconded.
Oh, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to correspondence requiring council direction. I'm looking for a motion to receive on item 5.1, a letter sent to us from the House of Commons in regards to carrying out a review of the vessel operations restrictions regulations.
Move proceed.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. New business, parks, recreation and culture. Councillor Day, Coal Island Conservation Management Plan.
Thank you. The Parks, Recreation and Culture Committee was given a report and an update from Mr. Richard Lindsay, who's the Manager of Heritage Programs and Services at the Provincial Heritage Branch, outlining the draft Coal Island Heritage Conservation Plan. Also included were options regarding Colwood license, occupation, and tenure, which are tied to the cost sharing of things like the production and installation of new interpretive signs for Coal Island, with the city being responsible for the maintenance of those signs. There were members of the public present. They had some questions about the possible costs down the line of different scenarios, and the committee felt that they would like to get more information and more feedback from staff as the tenure was a new issue raised since the report had been produced by staff. So it was recommended to council, and I would so move that staff be directed to explore the question of Colwood's ownership, tenure license options, and associated responsibilities.
Second. Conversation, discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.1.2, Colwood Creek Lot Play Equipment Replacement.
Thank you. At the same meeting, we also had a report from the Colwood Parks foreman, which outlined that one of the two play structures at Colwood Creek Tot Lot is not in a safe condition and needs to be removed immediately, and consideration be given to funding for a new one in 2014. It was recommended to council, and I would so move, that we instruct staff to remove the play structure in Colwood Creek Park with the broken slide immediately, with funding coming from the Playground 2013 budget, and bring forward for consideration in 2014 a plan to install a new CSA-approved swing set catering to the 18-month plus age group.
Second. Discussion? Councillor Lewin?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Day, is this in addition to what is already existing there? So the current swing set would remain?
Yes, the current swing set would remain. The set that had the broken slide apparatus would be removed, and the intent would be to replace that set in the next year as we're able to afford. There was considerable discussions with the local preschools who attend the park in regards to what age groups would be best to target, and that was why the 18-month to a little bit older age group was chosen.
The reason why I ask is that it would be a shame to lose that play structure that's there already, to replace it with a swing set, because it's that park, is more of a regional park. It's not a neighborhood park, and it's really a victim of its own success. So it's something that needs to be expanded rather than contracted. And I know that particular piece of equipment is very popular, and those 3 slides were exceptionally popular. Not that I didn't go down once or twice, but with the kids. But
now we know how it broke.
yeah, well,
We know what he does on his free time.
no alcohol. But I was just wondering too if there are any opportunities to approach organizations for grants, much like we did with Saturn, who funded a good whack of that playground.
Absolutely. Through the mayor, certainly we would consider all possibilities in the future. What we were trying to deal with immediately was any safety or liability concern at the park right away, and then work on plans for how to improve the park with whatever funding options might be available to us.
Good. Any other comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.1.3, natural landscaping on private property, 239 Portsmouth.
Thank you. The committee was given an overview of a report written by the Deputy City Engineer regarding a complaint of unsightly premises at 249 Portsmouth Drive on June 14th. and the report that had gone to council on July 8th. The core issue being the conflict between the unsightly premises bylaw, number 715/2003, and the stated desire of a homeowner to let his landscaping revert to a natural state. However, the bylaw defines the test for unsightliness as being based on a comparison of neighboring properties. We heard from a number of residents, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 residents from the area, including the owner of the property in question. And there was a number of people there who were concerned and requested that the city enforce our unsightly premises bylaw in that regard. And it was recommended by committee, and I would so move, that staff be directed to enforce the bylaw as recommended in the report to council on July 8th, namely, that council pursuant to unsightly premises bylaw number 715/2003 direct the owner of 239 Portsmouth Drive, Lot 14, Section 14, Plan VIP 24250, to cut down the overgrown grass and debris from the property within 14 days after the delivery of a notification letter.
There's more.
Oh, sorry. Failure to comply will result in the city or its agents doing the work at the owner's expense, and that staff be directed to develop a natural landscapes policy under an appropriate mechanism such as the new land use bylaw or the urban forest strategy.
Second.
Comments, questions, discussion? Seeing,
Thank you through the chair to, I think, our CAO with respect to the conflicting bylaws that were raised in the public portion of tonight's meeting. And because I wasn't at the previous committee meeting, I might be behind the 8 ball on this one a little. But have staff looked into the issue with respect to conflicting bylaws?
The thing is with this bylaw is that we've used it on a regular basis inside the municipality, a lot of it being forced to be done through complaints. As far as we know, there is no conflict of bylaw here, and that this bylaw has being upheld as being enforceable.
Thank you through the chair again. There was 2 different bylaws cited, I think, during the public portion of tonight's meeting. And I understand if we are just making a decision based on the unsightly premises bylaw, but there was another bylaw that was raised. And I would like to have a much clearer understanding of what that potential conflict is.
I think Mr. Morton gave us a different bylaw number.
He did.
I think it's the OCP.
Oh, OCP number.
Oh,
Yes, if it's the OCP bylaw, that is just a document, a planning document, and it just gives general direction in terms of what the city would like to see over time wherever it can be fitted in, but it requires all sorts of requirements that have to be interpreted, and at the moment we have no such mechanism, and that's why the recommendation indicates that we should be developing a natural landscape policy. There's no policy in place that actually says how it should be done. One is a bylaw that's enforceable, the other is a planning tool, which means that it is in a flexible stage until such time that we actually have policies that indicate how you create a natural environment.
Thank you. I understand that. Question with respect to developing this natural landscape policy, will that be enforceable in the future, or do we need to create bylaws?
It's not a matter of being enforceable. It's a mechanism that will allow creation of a natural environment, and if it is found that it's contrary to our unsightly bylaw, we will have to get that resolved through legal advice. But at the present time, there is no conflict.
Thank you.
Any others? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 6.2, Finance and Admin Committee. 6.2.1, Colwood Employee Performance Appraisal Policy and Systems. Councillor Martin?
Madam Mayor, I'm deferring to our CAO.
Mr. Pease?
Certainly. This is a rather lengthy document that was put together. It is available and fully developed based on how the city should go about bringing in an employment appraisal system. It has already been put out to staff in terms of getting input and making changes. Staff know how it's going to work. It's a fairly lengthy document, so I won't go into any of the details because it is available if any of council need to see it. But the big thing is with it is that the city execute this employee process starting in 2013. So it'll be in two phases. Phase one will be the section that deals with telling employees how they're going to be assessed in the future. It's going to be based on behaviors. It's not based so much on how you do your job. It's your behavior that's more of an issue or isn't an issue. So it's called competency-based appraisal system. And what in 2013 we will explain to employees again, because they've already been given an overview of how it all works, including public works. And it will also require in 2013 that two sections be filled in. One that says what are the goals of the individual that's being appraised, 2 to 3 goals for 2014, and also what their training needs are for the job that they're currently covering. In 2014, the full rollout will occur when they'll actually be appraised on the competencies, and inside the document there is actual it shows how you're supposed to fill it out. It also has competency dictionaries that are used so that whoever's doing the appraising can lift words out of the dictionary and plonk them right in the appraisal. And that in 2014, that's what will occur. So 2014 will be the first year since approximately 1990-something that employees will actually be appraised, and it goes on their files. I think this is an initiative that is well overdue, and I can assure you that it will be implemented this year. The only question that's arisen so far is the cycle November, December the best time to do it, or are we better off to do it earlier in the year, such as the spring, something like March, April, May? That's still to be determined, but that's a procedural issue and nothing to do with the actual process itself. We're just going to find out which is a better point of view, because it's the directors and the senior managers that will be filling out the appraisal, so we'll see which works best. So the recommendation is then that the employee appraisal policy, EMP 001 dated 2010-09-13, be rescinded in its entirety, and the new employee appraisal policy, EMP 001 dated 2013-08-26, be adopted. So that's the policy. That's what council says goes. The next part of it is that the appraisal procedure EMP-P001 be implemented as described in the document titled Colwood Employee Performance Appraisal System, Competency-Based.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, comments, questions? I just want to say then kudos to getting this done, because it's been long awaited, and I know that the intent was always there to get it accomplished, and now, you know, it's taken place. So I think it will be a very supportive process for growing our employees and keeping everybody aware of their strengths. Councillor Date?
Thank you. I just wanted to add to that. I think it's a wonderful initiative. This is a roadmap how to get there, though. I'm sure there's going to be lots of detours along the way as we try to balance, you know, our workloads, as well as maintaining the human resources aspects of the administration of the city. So I think it's a huge step forward for Colwood to be going down a road we've really wanted to go for a long time, but haven't had that roadmap to get us there. And I really hope that this will be looked at as a really positive thing for all of the employees in Colwood to be able to identify their strengths and perhaps areas that they need to work on, and be able to make that linkage between the training budgets that we create and the needs that the employees have. So really wonderful work.
Any others? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6.2.2, City of Colwood Visual Identity Implementation.
Okay. This one, Madam Mayor, everybody in your mailbox, you should have received an image book that Sandra sort of created on the communications. And Sandra Russell did give us our communications manager gave us an overview of a report stating that there are two parts in the city's new visual identity implementation. Thank you. The first being the new website, which I know we've all been thrilled with, and the second being the design and implementation of the city's new logo, and the idea of a possible new coat of arms. You can see the new logo down here. This is the signs that are going to be going out. The logo itself, if you take away the welcome to, that is the official logo now. So it is the image plus the word Colwood. So those two things will always be together. So that's just important to know too. The logo was explained as well as some financial aspects, including 2014 needs, and a lot of that was just about us beginning to transition from our old info to new, for example, new business cards and that type of thing. Details were given around the guidelines on how to use the logo, and that, again, should be in your mailbox for everybody. The color schemes and the backgrounds that can be used with. So it is recommended council, and I will so move, that the new logo and visual identity as outlined in this report titled City of Colwood Visual Identification Implementation, I cannot say that word.
Implementation.
Thank you. Dated 2013-08-13 be endorsed as the replacement of the incorporation logo, and that the that word, that's a brain freeze word for me, used by immediate for those items under $2,000.
Implementation.
Thank you. Use the immediate for items over 2,000 in the cost table that are already accounted for in the 2013 budget, and the items identified in the cost table over $2,000 and not accounted for in the 2013 budget be refined and presented in the 2014 budget for consideration, and a cost be determined for the design and creation of a coat of arms using the incorporation logo and brought forward in the 2014 budget for consideration.
Second.
Comments, discussion?
Just a quick question, Your Worship. I brought it up with the CAO, but perhaps through you to engineering. Is there any thought of utilizing the logo on the street signs when we go to replace them? Either the ones on the major roads or even the residential street signs, so that Spruce is
That would be an excellent idea, and we'll phase that in as we replace signs or create new ones.
Like on the new Ryder Hedgedall Way sign?
And also the new Welcome to Colwood sign that will be part of the landscaping on Old Island Highway. We'll use that as a model.
Anything further? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. 6.2.3, Report Corporate Officer CAO, new item, 2013 Christmas closure proposal.
I'm going to defer to our CAO on this one.
Move the staff recommendation.
I think the best thing here is to jump to the diagram which shows the closures. What it is we always do this well before Christmas to make sure everybody knows what's going to happen close to Christmas. So the recommendation is that basically starting on the 23rd all the way through to the 1st of January, 27th, 30th, and 31st, those days must be covered either by vacation time or time in lieu. And if the individual doesn't have that time, they are permitted to work here with the approval of the city. They must do work that is real work. So the city then would be closed from Monday, the 23rd of December, through to and including January the 1st. So the offices would reopen on the 2nd of January. So the recommendation is that the City of Colwood offices be closed from 8:30 a.m. Monday, December 23rd, 2013, through Wednesday, January 1st, 2014 inclusive, and that all city offices reopen at their regular times on Thursday, January the 2nd, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Counselor Day?
I just want to say I think this is a very good use of city resources for those staff who have holidays left to use up. It encourages them to use them at a time of year when there's probably not nearly as many demands as many people are holidaying. And if people do not have the time, it's a great opportunity to get caught up on those jobs that need your full attention when there aren't people coming through the door and interrupting your workflow. So I think it's a very good use of our time.
Any others? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. 6.2.4, report acting corporate officer, new item. Council meeting scheduled for September 23rd.
So I'll just speak on this one real quick because this one's easy. As you all know, we're all going to UBCM, and so there are some conflicts. So if we just jump down to the recommendation and also move it that the standing committees of Park and Rec and Culture, Finance and Administration, and Planning and Land Use committees be rescheduled to September 23rd, 2013 at 5:30 p.m., at 7 p.m., and on September 24th at 7 p.m. respectively, and that the regular meeting of council scheduled for Monday, September 23rd be canceled and a special meeting of council be called for September 30th at 7 p.m.
Second. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving forward to 6.3, Transportation Public Infrastructure Committee. 6.3.1, report deputy to the city engineer, Transportation Master Plan. Councillor Cullington?
I'm going to defer to the Deputy to the City Engineer.
Mr.
yes.
McCusker?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you. The 2013 budget includes a line item for the creation of Transportation Master Plan. Request for proposals has been issued, and the responses have been carefully considered, and we have a recommendation for you. The RFP was approved by council and issued by staff with tenders due on May 13th, 2013. Responses were received in two parts. The proposals were emailed in PDF format, and the costs were sent separately. And so what we did is, without opening the costing information, we carefully analyzed the responses and scored them against your approved terms of references, or terms of reference, I should say. All of the consultants covered the basic engineering requirements reasonably well, but there were significant variations in the proposals and in the proposed work plans, and in the creativity, linkages to other plans, and perhaps most significantly, the communication and the involvement of the public. All of the staff that ranked the proposals unanimously agree that there's one proposal from Urban Systems that is clearly superior to the others, and believe that this consulting firm is best suited to develop the Transportation Master Plan for the future of Colwood. So we have a ranking, as I said, that takes them through, and they were ranked first. Delcam was ranked second, and so on and so forth. And then we opened the costs. And once the ranking was completed, the costs were opened, as I said. And the results are that Urban Systems was just under the budgeted amount. The budget was $160,000. The budgeted amount was $159,000 and $858. And then down the line there, and there's one in particular, the fourth one down, which is the low bid, is Boulevard Transportation. And so we analyzed all of these, and we feel that although there's a $29,000 difference and a potential $29,000 savings in going with one, that it would really be to the benefit of the city that we go with the best proposal on this. We're talking about a guiding document, probably second only to the official community plan, that will guide the formation of our roads and our street networks and our streetscapes and our sense of economic development and every way that we want the city to look in the future. And so, without going through all of the rest of it, unless you would like me to, our recommendation is that the council authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer to enter into contract with Urban Systems in the amount of $159,858 for development of the City of Colwood's Transportation Master Plan.
And I will move that.
Second?
Comments? Councillor Day?
Thank you. I was reading the report to try to sort of get a feeling for why some bids were ranked higher than others. And Morrison Hirschfield was on page 3 or 4, it says they were the other 4th ranked consultant because
Yes.
there was a tie.
Yeah.
Did not submit a bid. So I don't know how they were ranked if they didn't submit a bid.
Because we did the rankings prior to actually pulling the bids and opening the bids.
Okay.
And so I could have taken them right out of the report, but since we ranked them, we included them in the ranking.
Anyone else? Councillor Cullington?
Thank you. I just wanted to say this is a really important plan for the city, and I do think it's worth making sure that we've got the consultant that not only provides us with the technical expertise that we're looking for, but the communication and engagement piece, I think, is really important around this. We do want a lot of public input, which we know in this community is not always easy to get. So I think having a company that does that well is really important for us. So in my mind, it is worth spending that extra money to make sure that we're getting that kind of quality.
Councillor Martin?
What was when through the mayor to our deputy, how was the process? Was there any sort of guidelines ahead of time, because this was probably a foreseen issue that somebody was going to be the lowest bid but not necessarily the best person for the job, and vice versa, and was there any sort of criteria, because it almost seems like you're kind of stuck, right? Because you've got rankings that you don't know what quality-wise versus cost-saving-wise and so on. I mean, it's not like a construction bid where you just say, who build this bridge, and, whoever's the cheapest, build it.
Through the chair, that's why we did it this way, to go through the terms of reference, and unfortunately I don't have them right in front of me as to what we had gone through, but we had a fairly in-depth scale. I believe there were somewhere around 15 items or more that we were looking at and saying, okay, how do you rank on this? How do you rank on this? And we did that prior to opening the bids because we did not want to even consider what the bids were first. We wanted to find out what was the best bid, what was going to give us the best city of Colwood for the future. And so, yes, in answer to your question, yes, that was foreseen as a possibility, and that's exactly why we did it this way. We didn't want to have our opinion colored by what the cost was until we got to that point. We didn't anticipate that we would give it any kind of a score to say, okay, if it's $15,000 less, then it's this amount of points, because there's really no way to get a feel for that other than, well, there's really no way to quantify that, because really we're talking about two things, a sort of a qualitative analysis of what they propose, and then the straight quantity of the money. And so what we did is we looked through it very carefully, and we involved the people that were actually scoring the proposals, and then also took a handful of the proposals that were ranked reasonably high out of the group and gave them to one person in engineering, and then took the one that looked like it was a clear winner and gave that to our communications consultant, our contractor, Sandra, and said, what do you think of the communications plan? She said it's brilliant. And so we really felt that that under those circumstances, and also we have some experience with consultants that sometimes say that they can do it for a certain price, and then you get nickel and dimed, and you find your way climbing up. And so we sort of discounted some of the others based on that.
Just
So-
a quick follow-up. Would you change the process next time?
No. No, in fact, I spoke with our, I spoke and emailed with our legal consultants, or our lawyers, and asked them what they thought of the process. And they said, no, it's fine, it's great. There's some wording that you might want to change, but really it's pretty bulletproof the way it is.
Thank you.
Councillor Pillington?
Thank you. Just as a follow-up to Councillor Martin's question, as a consultant, it's not unusual to have bids work this way. And it does, I've sort of been on both sides of the question, and it is a good way of, you kind of really look at the content of the proposal first and say which is the most outstanding before you get kind of drawn into this one's $2 more than this one. So it really does kind of clear the mind, and you get the best proposal. And then if it also meets your price criteria, it makes it very much easier to rank.
Councillor Day?
I just wanted to say that I did notice when I was reading through the report that there was some very careful consideration given to how the consultant would understand the environment that Colwood is. And because I've seen in the past with other consultants that it's a lot to undertake to understand the culture of a city, and some things got left out. Policies that had been adopted by council had not been taken into account. So I think there's two parts that are really important, and one is understanding the environment that is Colwood, and also communicating out to the public and getting more input. So I think both of those things seemed to come through to me, registering very highly as important factors in choosing our consultant to do the best possible job. So I feel quite comfortable with the recommendation.
Sorry, and I already know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure it's on the record. The city is at no liability by not taking the lowest bid?
Through the chair, our legal advice states that we are fine to go ahead with the decision. We put in the correct language, saying things such as the city reserves the right, based solely on its assessment of its best interest, to accept any or none of the proposals submitted, and also the lowest proposed cost will not necessarily be the principal factor in the award of the project. And so.
Madam Chair, I can also add to that, as usually the bidders are informed of a process. The reason why it comes in front of council on such a large number, this is the venue for a person or a company to make a claim saying that you've treated us unfairly, and we have not had any kind of notice like that. So one could conclude that people have accepted it as done. And I think the process has been a very good one in terms of not linking the price to the product. Look at the product first, then look at the price to make sure it's within budget.
I'd just like to point out that the vast majority of the engineering profession would be absolutely aghast if we ended up with a process where all the engineering in BC was done on a low bid basis. That would not be good for the profession.
And one last point I'd like to make is we're talking about a $29,000 spread in a plan that will likely direct over $20 million worth of infrastructure improvements. Not that I'm promising to get any really big grants or anything.
Written that down.
Anything else? And we do have the comment in there that it says within that contract that there'll be no additional money available under any circumstances. So I'll be looking for that line item in the agreement.
Could I clarify that, Your Worship, please? Without coming to council for approval. There may be things that come up that
Yes,
just
yes, yes,
make
yes.
perfect
Yeah, yeah.
sense, and we'll come to you about that. Thank you.
Call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, moving into bylaws, actually. 7.1, bylaw number 1513, looking for first, second, and third readings. City of Colwood subdivision and development bylaw number 1995, amendment number 48, Schedule A CD 145 zone 302, 324 Belmont.
Move introduction?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Who second?
I did. Oh, jeez, I thought that was a question.
He's moving second.
Moved and seconded.
Second. Comments, questions, any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Move third.
Second thing.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Looking to move in camera,
So moved.
Or
do I need
yeah,
to make
Back
it?
in camera,
yeah.
yeah.
move back in camera, resume in camera.
Seconded, we still need a seconder.
Seconder?
Second.
Councillor Day, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. 5-minute break, folks, to